Hello everyone and welcome to the Speed Chess Championship semi-final match between Magnus Carlsen and Wesley. So this is one of the games, basically the first game of the bullet section. We're going to discuss what happened in all the sections, and we're going to discuss what happened in the match between Hikaru Nakamura and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. As by now you all know, we will have another great final between Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura. So this is the most requested game. Let's check it out. And remember, this is bullet format, 1 minute per player, and basically a slight inaccuracy completely turns the game around. So let's check it out. Magnus has the white pieces. He opens with knight to f3. He goes for the Reti opening, and Wesley plays pawn to c5, which is called the Sicilian invitation, as if white now goes e4, then it's the same as if white went e4, then black played c5, and white continued with knight to f3, playing just a standard Sicilian defense. And that's exactly what Magnus accepts. So this is the Sicilian invitation accepted variation, but we're just going to call it the Sicilian now. d6, we have pawn to c3. Magnus goes for the delayed Alapin variation, and now knight to f6, putting pressure on the e4 pawn, and pawn to h3 now. This is in the top three moves, preventing bishop to g4. And while you can capture on e4, it's actually one of the most common mistakes here. I actually made this mistake some 12 years ago in a blitz tournament. I played against I don't know who in round 1, and I thought, wow, a free pawn, I'm just gonna capture it, and then my opponent played queen to a4 check, and I blundered a knight. So you know, be careful. Or that could also be you. So knight to c6, we have bishop to d3 now, defending the pawn and preparing bishop to c2 so you can advance the d pawn, pawn to g6, and now bishop to c2. We have pawn to e5, bishop to g7 is the top move here, e5 also played quite a lot, striking in the center with pawn to d4, c captures, and e captures on d4. And now knight captures on d4 is the standard move. Magnus just castles here, so he's still waiting to see if Wesley maybe makes some sort of a mistake here, but Wesley just continues developing. Knight captures on d4, and now castle. So again, re-entering known territory, knight to c3. And now this is a fairly common position in the delayed Alapin, where black usually goes knight captures on d4 or knight captures on e4. So those are the two moves, because you don't want to allow knight d to b5, putting pressure on the d6 pawn. Now knight captures on d4, pretty straightforward. You want to get the queen to d4 to maybe try and use some discoveries, and also knight captures on e4 is very popular because now you are attacking the d4 knight twice, so we can just trade everything. Knight captures here, knight captures on c3, knight captures d8, knight captures on d1. Now even knight captures on f7, king captures on f7, and the rook captures on d1, going after the d pawn here, and you can even give it up. Let's say bishop to e6, and it's a pretty drawish endgame. But Wesley played rook to e8. It's a new move, so already as of move 11 we have a completely new game. What's the idea? Well, he's putting pressure on the e4 pawn, not a lot as the pawn is being defended, but his idea is he wants to defend the d6 pawn with rook to e6 once Magnus attacks it. So okay, Magnus is of course curious. He wants to see what Wesley prepared, and now rook to e6, which is not the best way to go about things. If you really want to play this rook to e8 move, you have to play it with rook to e7, and then if Magnus captures the pawn, then you bring the rook into the game. Let's say queen captures on d6, you attack the queen. Once the queen moves, you attack the knight, and once the knight moves, now you can play all sorts of moves. You can play knight to d4, you can play b6 to gain a tempo on the queen, bishop to b7, rook to c8. So for the price of a pawn, you will get really a lot of development in. But Wesley played rook to e6, and now it's a little bit different. Now Magnus plays bishop to b3. He attacks the rook, so of course the rook has to move. Rook to e7, and now Magnus plays knight captures on d6. And now, well, of course you can play rook to d7. It's not as potent while the bishop is on this diagonal, as you'll see. So rook to d7, bishop to f4. Magnus defends the knight, and just knight to h5, trying to remove one of the defenders of the knight on d6. And now look at what Magnus plays. The position is already completely winning for Magnus, but you know, it's not all that clear why. But of course, I'm sure now you realized it is knight captures on f7. And now look at this. Magnus is now threatening some very nasty discovery. So if you try trading queens, it doesn't work because knight captures on d8 comes with check, and you're always going to be down material. King f8, rook captures on d1, and after knight captures on f4, you will play knight captures on c6, b captures, and now any move literally, because you are up the exchange and you have a much better position. So that's the problem with you know, playing that. So what else can you do? You can't just wait for knight captures queen. So in the game, rook captures on f7 was played. Okay, so he grabs the knight. Now bishop captures on f7 with check, king captures, and now queen to b3 with check. This is a crucial move because it allows the rook to enter the game also with tempo, and the king is in check. The problem is you cannot play bishop to e6. If you play bishop to e6, then queen captures on b7, attacks the knight, attacks the king, so you have to play knight to e7, and then bishop g5. You are really not in a great position. The rook is coming to d1, g4 is coming, and it's just well, a really, really bad position. Also threats like bishop captures, queen captures on a8, so there are too many threats for you to handle all of them. So Wesley instead went king to f8, and now Magnus plays rook 8 to d1. Okay, knight to d4, Wesley again tries to trade here, queen to b4 with check, king back to f7, and now bishop to e3, piling up on the knight, and there's no going back here. You're just going to lose a piece, and that's it. Wesley tries one more trick, knight to c6, going for a queen trade here, but now Magnus just goes back, queen to b3 check, and he was in this position on move 22 that Wesley so resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Of course, next move you're just going to win the queen, and if you offer a queen trade with bishop to e6, again just queen captures on b7 with check, and you cannot block this. If you play knight e7, then you lose the queen, and if you play queen to e7, then of course you lose the rook, and you are just well, you are just completely lost here. You are down 2 exchanges, not 1. So I mean, and your king is on f7 without any defenses. That's kind of pointless. Yes, you could say it's bullet, so maybe Wesley can, you know, do something, but not really. He was already down to 8 seconds and in a terrible position. So yeah, Magnus. So here are the standings basically of all the time formats. Magnus defeated him in the 5+1 section with 6.5 to 2.5. Then in 3+1 he completely demolished him with a score of 8 to 1. All that title Tuesday really paying off. In the 1+1 section, 7.5 to 3.5, and in this match it was the first time that Wesley ever defeated Magnus in bullet, bringing it to a final score or a total score of 22 to 7. So it's I mean, incredibly convincing. And Hikaru Nakamura also defeated Maxime Vachier-Lagrave in the semifinals, and we will have a Magnus Hikaru final that everyone was expecting. Hikaru did not crush Maxime with such a high margin, but it was still very convincing. In the 5+1, he defeated him 5 to 4. In the 3+1, 3.5 to 5.5, Maxime actually won that. But in the bullet section, Hikaru completely obliterated him with a result of 8 to 2. So 16.5 to 11.5, much closer than in the Magnus Wesley match. So we'll see what happened in the Hikaru versus Magnus final. If you remember, Hikaru defeated Magnus in the previous Speeches Championship final, so this will be an opportunity for Magnus to retaliate. I sort of remember the interview Magnus gave after losing that final to Hikaru. He said that he was incredibly impressed by how strong Hikaru was playing. It's not that the Magnus was playing bad or anything, it's just that Hikaru was playing so, I mean, such incredible moves at incredible speeds, and the Magnus just couldn't play equal to it. So we'll see what Magnus does here. Has he improved in a year? Will he, be better this time? I mean, I'm very excited for the final, as I'm sure you guys are as well. So we're going to cover a few games from that. I might even cover the entire thing, but I'm still deciding on that. So that's the game. Really hope you guys enjoyed it. All came down to this, well, I guess Rook E8 was supposed to be some sort of a surprise, but, after rook to e6, Magnus just laughed at it, and it was downhill everything from there. So yeah, once again, really hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank a very happy birthday to Babsel, and I would like to thank Raymond Young, Alan Sol Hartstein, Paul Miller, and Kenneth Fraser for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.